Oh boy. So you guys are gonna have to bear with a typical crazy Florida lightning storm. It's happened a little sooner than normal. So anyway, welcome everybody. We're doing a rather unique, oh shoot, I gotta turn my volume off here. Pause. So we're gonna do a rather unique live stream here. The giveaway's about to end. So I'm sitting in the 997 RS. Probably one of the last times I'm going to be able to sit in this thing. For the last couple of times, I'm probably sit in it to drive it out to the transport truck. You know, whenever we figure out who wins and figure out where the thing's going. But if you're not familiar, we are doing a giveaway on this car, which means that we're selling a bunch of stuff on the Obsessed Garage site, and in hopes that we would raise enough money to be able to, you know, not lose 300 grand on the thing. And good news is I'm significantly into the profitability stage, so we're doing good. Doing well, I should say. So what do you do with the, what do you dorks do with your cups? I can't do it here because the camera's in the way, but I drink in the kitchen, so I don't have a need for cup holders, but I guess the RS is cup holders right there. It'd be in your way. So anyway, help me out, guys. There's no Chris here today. So go into the chat, ask me some questions. I'll try to answer. I can't see the Instagram questions. So those of you that are live on Instagram, it's just sitting on my phone here. So maybe I'll go get on my laptop sitting right in front of the camera. So maybe we'll grab that. I'll grab that after we kind of go through the YouTube stuff. But ask me questions. I'm going to need some help here so I don't get off track. I'm sure I'll start ranting on something before time's up. Let me kind of close this door a little bit here because the rain is going to get gnarly. And we're in a metal building, so this will help keep it a little quieter for us. So let's see, Griffin says, will there be an option to buy dual pressure washer system for other pressure washers like the Active, Comet, AR, etc.? Yes. I need to do some testing. I actually have the goofy giraffe ones that I need to test to get out of my garage here. Don't buy the giraffe pressure washer, I'm freaking telling you. I haven't tested it yet, but I know. I can tell in 1 second what you're getting there. But we're going to do some mock-ups of the Actives. I'm going to put 2 Karchers together to see what happens. We'll put 2 ARs together to see what happens. We'll put them all together and see what kind of output we get. And then we'll have a package for the associated parts and pieces that you would need to put that thing together. And I do want to kind of test them out because I do think that some of the inferior pressure switches, like what we have on the Karcher, I don't know if it's going to be able to handle, or if it's going to work well with putting 2 of them in parallel. So we'll kind of see how that works. The Krensless, it's freaking bulletproof, working great. I'm pretty certain that the ARs will be fine as well. And I think that the Actives will probably work, but we'll test it out. So yeah, thanks for lighting a fire. I'll you know, hopefully maybe Tommy's listening. We'll get that on the docket. We just put some dry erase boards up, so hopefully we'll get that going. And then it'll be interesting to see, you know, testing how do they do. Super chat from our friend at Improved Garage. Any update in the quarter-inch pressure washer hose? As of right now, the answer is no. So just to cue you in on what happened over the years with pressure washing hose. So I was buying Cobra Jets from MGM, and about 10 or 12 times over the course of the last several years of us selling pressure washer hose, they would always run out of stock. And so part of it is not their fault in that we didn't know how many we were going to sell, and you guys were very diligent about buying them, and we had, you know, great success with that. But I needed to make a transition, so I bought my own crimping equipment. We bought and took what was the CrossFit gym building that I'd bought, and turned it into curated manufacturing. My dad left OG and went up there to help me build that business. Now we have, you know, 3 employees up there, and we started manufacturing our own hose. And so before Mike F started working for Obsessed Garage, he had, you know, found and suggested we deal with. He had bought some samples of Gates hose, and because the Continental stuff that we were pursuing was like $3 or $4 a foot, and so hoses would have been $300 or $400, and it wasn't that much better. In fact, it wasn't better. And so then we had to commit to buying, I think, 300,000 feet. And with our relationship with Gates and Continental and these companies right now, we don't currently have the buying power to be buying all different types of hoses. And so I'm hoping in the coming years I'll be able to then buy. So I have to buy 300,000 feet of one type of hose just to get an even reasonable price so that I can sell it to you at a reasonable price that is manageable. And so I tried to say, hey, can I just add on like 50,000 feet of 1/4 inch hose? And the answer is no. I had to commit to another 300,000 feet, or basically like $300,000 of that. And so as of right now, different types of hoses are off the table until we continue to build out. We're going to be building out a wholesale division of Cess Garage, so we'll be selling our own hose to our retail competitors, if you will, and then our retail friends throughout the world. And so I'm ramping up to kind of build that out for more than just hose. And so then we'll be able to start to offer different colors, different types, different sizes, things like that. So I hope that that answers your question. All right, let me go back to the top here. What is this dumb thing? Let me close this. Yeah, that's a reminder. Why can't I see at the top? I'm missing some comments here. Let's go. So let's see. Crap, why can't I see this? These stupid questions are blocking. Let me see if I can see it on the regular feed here. Nope. So I got these banners at the top of this thing.
You can't hear me if I'm asking it.
Yeah, no, it's better for me to do it this way. It's just that these little banners are blocking my ability to see the frickin' comments up here.
Oh, yeah.
See these little puppies here? I mean, I could just get rid of it, but...
Yeah. It's just...
Oh.
That's just the Q&A. That's fine.
Okay, I think I...
So go this way.
Yeah. Anyway, I don't think there's any more questions. Spending the weekend...
It should be this way. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, well, these are the current ones, but I like to start at the top. Let me get rid of this one, too. Let me
Guys
remove
asked
that.
on Instagram, will the Evo be a giveaway too?
No. As of right now, no. There we go. Okay, now I can see the top. So I got rid of all those banners. All right, so Christian's saying, spending the weekend organizing my garage here in Stewart for when I head up to Lady Lake to pick up my car. All right, I see what you did there. That's smart. Looking forward to meeting you all. Yeah, shoot, I hope someone close by wins the darn thing. Will save me a bunch of money from having to ship it somewhere. It's funny, we've run a bunch of ads for the first time, and I guess the rules must say something like you've got to, I think it's boilerplate, where the owner is responsible for delivery and pickup and taxes and all that, and so people have been freaking out. It's just normal internet people looking for whatever negative they can find, but I will be shipping the car to whoever wins the thing, and we'll figure that out. Let's see. Living Life says, judge me if you may, but this is going to be an important event for me. Being my first podcast, I will watch live. I'm itching to watch. Oh, thanks, man. So you must have made that comment before we started going live. I'm not sure what we're going to do. I do like the live stream, and we'll probably change the live. The thing I don't like about live is the quality. We're sort of limited on what it looks like, so it always has that kind of 720 looking. I think we do it in 1080p, but it looks kind of milky. And so I think I like the idea. Pretty much every podcast, video-wise, isn't done live. They're done and then put up after the fact. I do like the interaction, and so what we'll probably do, so our plan is to formalize the podcast and really dedicate and focus to it. I'm going to build a podcast studio where we have a dedicated podcast studio instead of just doing it in Chris's office or what was my office. And we'll have a proper table with proper display equipment. We'll have cameras on everybody and be able to switch different cameras and have different scenes and stuff like that. And then we'd probably do like a live once in a while, but doing themed, very specific, host some guests and things like that. So I'm excited for that. That's coming, later this year. We're going to be working on that. But I do like the live option. Leroy Jenkins says, what is the best budget jack/lift option for working on a car that is safe? I think the simple budget option is to go to Harbor Freight and you get the Pittsburgh, Daytona, or maybe it's Daytona jack. Maybe it's not Pittsburgh, but the Daytona. I think it's the 1.5 ton or 2 ton jack. And it's the low rise version or the low profile version of the aluminum jack. They're like $150 or something like that. And then get yourself, so what I liked to do was I bought Rhino ramps from like AutoZone or Advance Auto or Walmart or something like that. And so I would most of the time, if I didn't have to take the wheels and tires off, like if I was working on the exhaust or something underneath the car, and I wasn't dealing with anything with the wheels or brakes, I would actually jack the car up and I'd put the Rhino ramps underneath the tires on all 4 sides. Because most sports cars, you can't drive up on a Rhino ramp. It's too steep. And so you jack the car up and put the Rhino ramps on backwards and set the tires on. I always felt more comfortable with that because then the thing's not moving. The other option is, of course, you get jack stands. Jack stands can be kind of dicey because not all cars have like a center jack point that you can get to. So sometimes it gets a little harder to get the car up on jack stands, or maybe they're not stiff enough to jack up one jack point. If you have a jacking rail on a car, oftentimes you can make it work, but most of the time you don't have enough room to get the jack stand under it, at least not as easily as you'd like. I don't really think there is a budget lift option. I don't like quick jacks. I think they take up too much space. Generally, those of you who are going to need to do quick jacks are going to have a smaller garage. I just don't like them. I had them. I don't like the jack points or where the blocks go. I know lots of you have them and like them. Benpack, the guys at Benpack and Quick Jacks are our friends, but sometimes you tell your friends the truth, and I don't know what solution you would have outside of that. I just don't frickin' like it. But I think, to me, budget, you're still gonna have to make an investment, but I would want jack stands. Check those out if you haven't seen those. It has a special jacking puck depending on your car, so that adds another expense. But the jack point stands kind of wrap around the jack, and so you put the jack in place, you jack the puck up in place, you put the jack point, or you slide the jack point in the exact position. When you lower the jack, then it, because the jack is inside of the jack stand, and so it lowers it down onto the jack stand. Because most of the time, your jack point on your car, you can't put the jack and the jack stand. There's not enough room. And so it'll make sense if you go to the Jack Point website. But those are at least $600 for a set. So that's quite a bit more expensive, but that's my suggestion. Another super chat from our friend Spencer. And isn't Spencer, I think, in North Dakota? If I, parentheses, or someone else wins the car and decides to fly down and drive the car home, like I would you send, would you send them home with a bunch of OG products? You got to catch me on the right day. Maybe. I'm sure I could be convinced of that. Yeah, I'd probably load up the trunk with some stuff. Luckily, it's an RS, so we can only fit so much stuff. But yeah, I might be motivated to do something like that.
Instagram question?
Instagram questions, yeah.
Talk about your HPDE experience. Why wasn't it something you liked?
Oh, okay. So the question was about my high-performance driving event experiences. I have many experiences. So I've told the story many times, but I'll sort of explain the root of this. So you remember, I mean, I live life at like an 8.5 out of 10 on the adrenaline scale, just sitting here, you know. I'm wound pretty tightly. Even though I look like I'm stoned all the time, I'm actually pretty wound. Like in my head, it's like screaming with bells going off all the time. And so part of that, part of my, I think, personality and demeanor is the offset of me trying to stay in control. And so if we go back to, like, let's say my early 20s, you know, I was an S2000 guy, a Honda guy, and I'd always told myself I'm going to go to the track. I'd always thought, you know, growing up from the age of 17 on, and once I started getting into cars, that I was going to be a weekend track guy, and then maybe get into some, probably not wheel-to-wheel racing, but get into some, some form of autocrossing, some form of timed event racing or something like that. And I just thought that that's where I was headed. I generally like to be good. You know, I like to be professional grade at things. And so, you know, when I was younger, there was a sort of a need to be, you know, if I'm going to do something, I want to be really good at it. So I drive a car all the time. So I wanted to be really, really good at it. And I knew that I would head down that path at some point. Or I thought I would. And so I thought I would hire coaches, and I would, you know, really learn to drive and really become sort of expert level driver, and then maybe pay it forward and become an instructor and all that kind of stuff. And so the excuse, but I kept making excuses. I kept procrastinating for years and years and years. And so then in my early 30s, I think it was probably 31 or something like that. So this is what, 12, 13 years ago. I'm 43 now. So I was probably 30, 31. I got my E92 M3. And so now I had two cars. So I had my AP2 S2000 and I had my E92 M3. And so I thought the S2000 wasn't good enough to be a good track car for me. And so I took my beloved E92 to the track. And so I went with a Porsche driving, or PCA, Porsche Club of America, had an event at Sebring. And actually, no, it was Chin Motorsports, who did all kinds of events. Very controlled, lots of great trainers, lots of great instructors. And so I went in the novice group, and I had an instructor, and so I went there for the day. It was a single day event, and I think I had probably 4 sessions or something, 4 30-minute or 45-minute sessions. And my instructor was this really stoic, very calm, very subdued little Asian dude. He was freaking awesome. It's like perfect for me. He looked like a race car driver, and so he was a race car driver. He was an SCCA pro, but he was very calm, and he knew what to say. He knew how to coach. He knew how to teach. It was perfect for me. So he was sitting in the passenger seat and very calmly kind of directing me and taking me through things. And one of the things I didn't know, and most of you who haven't been on the track, the violence of it is shocking. You know, it'll shock you. It's not shocking now because I know what it's like, but like if you take your wife out and take her on the track, or put her in a car with somebody who just doesn't have any experience and doesn't comprehend what it's like to accelerate at full out and brake and trail brake and enter and exit a corner, and what it's like when the tires are squealing and you're hitting the curb or you're driving over the curb, and if you haven't had that experience, it's rather jarring. And so here I am showing up wound really tightly. And I'm wound tightly because I love that car. But again, I bought that car for the performance of it, or so I thought. And so I have this really stoic, really great coach, really great teacher. And I'm not loving all of the inputs. It's just so much to think about. And I tend to overthink things anyway. And you're pointing people by, and you're just dealing with where do I brake? And I don't have a natural intuitiveness. I don't have a natural, like some people, like my friend Adam LZ, just has a natural intuitiveness of racing line. I don't have that. I have the opposite of that. I'm always looking to go some other way. And so I'm constantly thinking and processing, and I felt myself getting exhausted. But I wanted to see what it was really like. Like, what am I missing? You know, how do I get coached up? And so I went out with my coach, with my driving instructor, and he turned from this stoic little racer guy into a frickin' superhuman. You know, he transformed. And so we're out there in a base Cayman S. No, it was a base Cayman, not even a Cayman S, you know, with brakes and tires. And we're out there in the whatever the red group, and he's frickin' annihilating cup cars, and we're just, you know, he's wheel to wheel with these dudes. It was absolute mayhem, insanity. And so I sat there and I said to myself, I don't want to be able to do. He's like right at the edge of grip, just dancing with the car the whole time, and right at the edge of adhesion the whole time. And he's got, you know, our compound tires on there, so you know, they're not race tires where they, you know, where they don't give you the feedback that a street tire. So they were street tires. But, you know, he's taking this car to 11 tenths, the absolute limit. And, you know, we're wheel to wheel in some turns on Sebring, and Sebring's a really rough course, rough tarmac. And so I come in and I'm trying to process, trying to figure out, like, what has just happened here? Like, what is going on? I'm like, I'm just not enjoying this. I feel like I just got punched in the gut. And so then I went, so it rained, so I skipped the third session, and then I went out on the fourth session, and there were some meatheads and some GTRs that were there in the novice group that, you know, terrible drivers, but they're meatheads. They're freaking driving as hard as they possibly could. And so I forget which turn it was. It was the turn, whatever turn number, the turn before the long straight on the back side of the track. And right in front of me, the guy does a 360 and then into the tire wall in a brand new, like, 2011 GTR. I think it was 2010 or 11 when I was there. And I, you know, sort of limped in, like, I'm just missed him, you know, as I'm coming through the corner, and saw the dude plow into the thing, total this car. And I come into the pits, and I just told him, I said, look, I'm done, you know, this is not for me. So I drove home. And I just felt very clear. I'm like, I'm not a weekend racer. I understand, and everybody tried to talk me out of it. I made a post in the M3 forum explaining my experience, explaining, you know, that this wasn't for me. I was a little confused because this I thought was going to be my next hobby, as I was sort of winding down my volleyball career. I was playing, well, I guess not career, but my major hobby. You know, I was playing professional grade, you know, volleyball, if you will. I was playing a lot of beach and looking to maybe not go pro, but to at least play open and stuff in tournaments. And I wasn't enjoying that either. And so I was really at a loss, like, what is my path here? Because I thought this was going to be my future. And that was a big contributor to my just sort of accepting who I am, and doing me, and saying, look, I'm feeling I've, like, obligated myself to be this weekend racer, and it's just not for me. And then a lot of people said, well, you need to keep trying, and I'm not doing it. I'm not. It wasn't for me. Peer pressure doesn't really work. You know, like, I don't get. I'm not susceptible to peer pressure very much. I'm more susceptible to my own pressure to put on myself, and so I made that decision. And I've been on the track probably 10, 12 times in various cars, in various type of driving schools and stuff like that. And I'm okay with not being an expert driver. So, you know, that's the story of it. So long answer to a short question. Man, MW, you got to stop giving us all this money. Thanks, man, for the super chat. I appreciate it. Thanks for watching. Thanks for being here. All right, back to the top. Let's see. Watching here and on Instagram. Bradley Odette says, good afternoon from Lakeland. Kevin says, Lakeland's not far from here. Let's see. Laptop from the front seat, my arch nemesis. Yeah. I was watching the video back of that we did on the Dundon exhaust, and watching all that, driving around in the mountains and stuff. Man, I got to get this back. So let's see, how long before the Evo is on the road? It's where the ACD pump is out of the car right now. There's something wrong with the ACD, which I think is a common problem point. I don't know if just from it sitting so long, so the ACD pump is out. But I'll register it on probably go and register on Monday, get the plate for it, and then it's ready to go. So I'll be probably pulling out the suspension the next week or so. The Wed Sports tie with the TC 105X wheels just got here. But I think I'm going to drive around in its current state for a little while, and then we'll do the turbo and stuff like that. So it's ready. Waiting on the couple of tools, which should arrive today or Monday, to do the timing belt. So I really want to get the timing belt before I go start ripping around in the thing. Let's see here. Let me go back to the top. The best budget. Watching from Instagram. Good morning. Well, it's good afternoon for us. Let's see. Thoughts on starting a high-end detailing shop. Think OG mixed with something like esoteric. I want to build a shop offering only premium options and no expenses spared. I live in SoCal, so no shortage of nice cars. Yeah, I mean, I think that's a viable option. The struggle, the tough part for that kind of business, if you want to build that, it's not impossible, but the tough part is having high-level service provider. So having a high-level PPF practitioner, having a high-level paint correction specialist, having, I think, high-level dent removal, having, also possibly offering, performance parts upgrades and stuff like that. So having, quality mechanics. The difficult part for that is going to be, now again, these people aren't hiding. There are people out there. You can train people. The difficult part will be figuring out how to incentivize so that the people that are doing the work for you and with you, you can only take on so much expertise if you're doing it yourself. The difficult part of that will be retaining them, and then you're likely going to have to carve out ownership for them in order to keep and retain the best people. Because if you're a PPF installer and you're great at it, and what are you going to give half of your labor, half of your revenue away to the shop? Now, there's a lot of people out there, there are a lot of people out there that don't want to deal with the business aspect. They don't want to deal with the customers. They just want to, work on their craft. But that's something that you're going to have to manage and something you're going to have to figure out. So, yeah, I mean, I think it's very doable. I think it's a career, a business where, you can make a pretty decent living doing that. But it's, it's going to be very labor intensive, and the labor is going to cost a lot. So your net margins to you are going to have to be smaller, because you're going to have to give away a good portion of ownership, profitability, revenue. You're going to have to give that to the people that are working for you in order to retain them and keep them engaged and keep them invigorated in what you guys are doing together. So you're going to spend a lot of time working on, hey, we're doing this together, and what you don't want to do is train people up and have a revolving door where they go hang a shingle up a few miles down the road and try to steal your customers. So that's the part that you have to kind of work through and figure out. Let's see. We talked about the detailing shop. Is the car going to get a final wash? Oh yeah, for sure. So I'm going to do a final wash and talk for the giveaway, and then I'll probably do one more exit interview on the car when it leaves. Let's see. Great to hear that you are going to be selling Grios in the future. Do you have an estimate time frame when the products will hit the store? In probably a week or so. We've placed our order, maybe a couple of weeks. So we placed our order, and we should have stuff here, pretty quickly. Since jack stands are only 12 inches high, how would you do an oil change or work on the car without a lift? You can still do it. I mean, you just have to suck it in and squeeze yourself under the car. That's where you get a little bit more height if you put the tires on top of rhino ramps. So that's why if you go back and watch all my old videos where I'm doing it, in the garage, putting the car up on the rhino ramps on the tires. Let's see. I want to enter, but in the slim chance I win, I won't have my phone or internet connection for like 10 days due to working during that period. Well, hopefully maybe we can email you or something. But we'll reach out. This one you don't have to be live on. What I'm setting up to do for future garage giveaways is you're going to have to be watching live. You're going to have to answer. You're going to have a garage, and you're going to have to prove it because I want to be able to do the garage. The sale ends for the giveaway at midnight Eastern, so Eastern Standard Time. Because of the rules, we can't extend it because that wouldn't be fair to everybody who follow the thing. So legally, we have to end it at 12 Eastern, and so at midnight. We're going to be live streaming, so I'll be reminding everybody. So on Monday, we're going to live stream, and we're going to try to stay awake till midnight. So we'll see. Let's see. Matt, love the evolution content. Any parts coming from AMS? They're local to me, and I thought they were the king of Evos. I don't know. To me, AMS has always been too general, and so I haven't really come across any AMS parts that I was really interested in. I think AMS to me has always been if you're going to send your car to AMS and have them build it for you. But I've never really been in that that Supra and GTR world. I think they did a lot of like CTS stuff, a lot of Lamborghini stuff, but it's like sort of the opposite of my car world. Let's see. On the OG house, have you figured out what year it will be at the break-even point? Absolutely love the home videos. I don't know. I look at that house differently. It'll be really hard to quantify. How many sales have we gotten of product? I guess you could just simplify it and say when you're renting it out. If I'm renting it out, the break-even point is going to be really terrible because I'm not renting it for as much as a house that costs that much should rent for. And so it's a rather convoluted process in that I'm looking for people to borrow it or rent it or pay some people to go there to help offset the carrying cost of it. I'm then looking for the people that go there to hopefully buy stuff as they get to experience it, so there's some sales of product there. But the main business proposition is that I have now a showroom and a content resource where I can go up there, try different products, show people how it all works, and then hopefully infinitely develop and generate revenue from that. And so it's a bit more convoluted. Personally, I hope, selfishly, I hope. So let's say what the carrying cost I figured was $180,000 a year to carry that place. And so if I generate, $180,000 a year, that covers that covers the carrying cost, and then in roughly 12, 13 years, I'll own it free and clear. And so I get to sort of leverage the whole sharing and providing value to people to then eventually own the property outright. Let's see. If it's raining there, like typical Florida, I take it you're not going to be driving. Yeah, I'm not. We got the cameras and we got the laptop set up, so we can't live stream while we're driving. Can't wait for the LZ renovation content. It's video should be up in a couple days. We went down and met with Laurel, and she made some amazing selections. Now I'm working on the spreadsheet of all of the appliances and all the detail. I'll be back down there in probably a week and a half to finalize light switches and how many light fixtures and make some measurements on some things. Our target is to start November 1. So that's the goal, and we're going to tear apart that house. Wait till you see. It's going to be insane. Is the Snap-on gnome riding shotgun? Actually, he's in the Sonic box right there. I finally put him in the drawer. I'm gonna go light that thing up with my AR here at some point. Let's see. Love drying aid myself. Use it every day from Brad Home. Thanks, man. Yeah, drying aid's legit. We had a little bit of a snafu with the chemistry. We got some like goop in it or something, and so we had a bad batch. And so we're working on with B&B to figure out what the heck happened, because we've sold, tens of thousands of gallons of the stuff, and all of a sudden something weird. Have we sold 10? I don't think, no, we haven't sold. We've sold thousands of gallons, not tens of thousands. Hopefully someday tens of thousands. Detailing garages. What are your best 5 tool brands for beginner to intermediate tools? So I'm not yet a tool expert, but I will tell you my favorite tool brands at this point. Sonic, I love Sonic. Wera, which is a new discovery. Snap-on is probably not one of them, but the ones that I'm interested in, Koken, KTC, those are on the Japanese side. I'm gonna do probably Stahlville. I'm looking for wrenches, because I don't like the Hazette wrenches. I like the Sonic wrenches. I don't really love the Snap-on wrenches. So I'm chasing wrenches now. Kinepix is going to be another major tool provider. So you'll have to ask me that in about a year. I'll have a much more robust, much more educated answer of what I like. Let's see. I'm going to pick it up and drive it back to Wisconsin. I hope so for you. If a Canadian wins the giveaway, are they subject to taxes? I believe Canada does not have a lottery tax. I don't know. I hope not for you. That would be awesome. So we'll have to figure out there's probably some sort of import taxation. I'm not sure. So we'll figure that out when that happens. But yeah, I think you may be right. Let's see. The bearded veteran says, Matt, want to let you know your garden hose turns green if you leave it out in the Arizona sun, heat. Well, you're subjecting it to the worst possible environment, so that's interesting. I have to throw it out in the sun and see what happens to mine here. Actually, mine's out in the sun. It's still blue. It fades, I know that for sure, but green, that's interesting. How many people entered the giveaway? I'm not sure. It's probably somewhere around 4,000, I would guess. We'll have a more formal number as we enter, as we exit the giveaway. We'll have a bunch of people in the next 3 or 4 days, hopefully. So the number's going to go up, but the odds are going to be insane still. Like if you spent $1,000, let's say we sold like $1.2 million worth of stuff. I think we're at like 850 or 875,000 in total revenue. So that's 875,000 entries. But if you bought $1,000, what is that, a 1 in 800 chance? If you bought $100, it's a 1 in 8,000 chance. So, roughly, it's pretty good odds. Let's see. Oh, shoot, what happened here? It jumped ahead. Let me keep working through my questions here. When does the sale close? I definitely did that. How many people? Okay. I have quick checks. They serve a purpose for the price. They are a pain to set up sometimes. Yeah, that's the thing that I didn't like about them. They're heavy. You got to put them somewhere. Jackpoint went out of business? Oh, shoot. He says they've been unavailable for over a year. Crap, I should try to buy that tech. Just see if I can buy their technology and go back and remanufacture them. I'm going to look into that. Should I buy CR Spotless or wait for your DI system? How much is the DI system going to be? I don't know. I don't know that I would wait. We're into prototyping now. We're waiting on the handles to come, I think. The three-way handle that we've engineered. I don't know. The goal is to have it by the end of this year. So that's the hope. I think it's probably going to be like 1,000-ish. It's going to be considerably more expensive than the CR. That for sure, I'm certain of. But it's going to be much more useful. The performance is going to be significantly different. Yeah, you get zero DI or zero TDS water, but in both cases, but we're going to have a lot more longevity of the resin. It's going to be a significantly more robust system, which will also work for all the high flow pressure washers and everything. So dual pressure washer setup, stuff like that. Excuse me. All right, let's see, where are we? Dylan says, I spoke with a car audio shop about installing a LOC to upgrade the subwoofer in my car. What's LOC? They were recommending sound digital or audio control. Any inputs on these brands for my amplifier? Let's see, what is LOC? Yeah, I don't know. I don't know much about that part. Normally, when I start getting into that, I hire somebody to do it. I heard the RS front trunk fits a Crenza pretty nicely. Yeah, it does. Will the winner also get the OG gnome? We should do the gnome for the next giveaway, an OG gnome. Can you talk about taxes if you won the GT3 and we would have to pay sales tax when you register it? Yeah, so depending on where you are, on how it works, but let's say in the state of Florida and most states in the U.S. So I'm $300K into the car, but we're not going to issue a 1099 for $300K. I'm going to issue a 1099 for $260 because that's what I think the car, maybe the car's worth a little bit more now, but I think we can make a case to the IRS that, look, I paid $260 for the car. We don't really know what the market has done. I think the market has gone up. The upgrades or things that I've done, generally, you wouldn't add like normal, Mark Black Book value to the car. So we're going to issue a 1099 for $260. So in order to do this legally correctly, we have to adhere to lottery rules, lottery laws, and so we have to issue a 1099. And we have to be fair about that as well. So I don't want to be lying about the value of the car and say, well, it's an old car, so it's not worth that much. I'm dealing with fair market or black book values of cars. And so we're going to call it a $260,000 value. That's what we registered it for. That's what I bought a bond in Florida and or bonded against in Florida and New York, which cost me, I think, $10,000 or $11,000 to do that, and then pay the attorney and all that stuff to register this giveaway. So then at the end, we're gonna, we generated some money, and so on my side, I'm gonna pay tax on. I'm gonna write off the car, if you will, as an expense, and then that's gonna help offset the revenue, the gross revenue or gross profitability, and then I net out the taxes for me at the end of the year. And so then we issue a 1099 to you because we're writing off the car. And so that 1099 goes out to you. And so let's say your combined household gross income is $150,000. Let's say you make 100 and your wife makes 50. And so let me look up the marginal brackets right now this year. So let me just minimize this here, and I'll help you think about this. Marginal tax bracket 2023. Let me look at all 4 rows. Okay, so if you're not familiar with the way the taxes work in the U.S., so you start top line, and I'm simplifying this, right? So you start at your gross income, which would be all of your 1099 income, all of your W-2 income will add up to your gross income. And what you're working on page 1 of your 1040 is to get to your adjusted gross income. So your adjusted gross income is your income less top line deductions like 401k contributions, certain types of losses, things like that. And so I'm going to ignore that and let's just talk gross income because I don't know what kind of deductions you're going to have. And so if you're making $150,000 a year as a married filing jointly, your first $22,000 you're paying 10% in tax. So tax rates are marginal in the United States. So the first $22,000 is taxed at 10%. from 22,000 to 89,450 is taxed at 12%. So you're not paying 12% on the first 22,000. You're only paying 10. So you're paying 10% on the first 22, 12% on the 22 to 89. You're paying 22% from 89 to 190, so the next 100K. And then you're going to pay 24% from 190 to 364, 32% from 364 to 462. So in our example, you're making 150K, we're sending you a 1099 for 260. So now you're at what, 350, you're at $410,000 in income. Again, excluding deductions and all of that stuff, your standard deduction, things like that, or your itemized deductions. So let's just say let's say that your after that your AGI is now 400. What did I say? $410,000. So you're going to pay, from 150 to 190, you're paying 22%. From 190 to 364, you're paying 24%. And then from 364 to 460, or to 410 in this example, you're paying 32%. So your blended rate on that is probably going to be somewhere around 26, 27% tax. So you're going to pay, say, let's just say 26% tax on, so 26%, 0.26 times 260. You're going to pay $67,600 in federal income tax in that particular example. If you make less, you'll pay less. So you're going to owe the IRS by, earliest would be April 15th of next year, or by September 15th if you file for an extension, which you may want to do. And so you're going to owe, in that particular example, you'll probably owe a little bit less than that because you're going to have some deductions, some standard your itemized deductions. You're also going to have to pay sales tax. The sales tax will also be a federal deduction as well. And so you're going to be paying, you're going to go to register the car, $260. So if you're at 6% sales tax, you're going to have to do that right away. So you get the $260. I'm going to give you a bill of sale, and you're going to pay, what was that, 13 grand? 15 grand. Sorry, I'm getting over a cold here. Summer colds are the worst. So 15 plus 67, so you're at 85 grand. So good luck with that. I say, I'm not crying for you because I just gave you a frickin' $300,000 car and you're going to pay tax on 85 grand. And maybe, shoot, if you have some sort of loss or somewhere you can take, maybe you can offset that somehow. God dang, this is terrible radio. I'm dying. I need a mute button for my choking. So does that help you? I hope that helps you on how you would do the tax stuff. So remember, tax rates federally are marginal. Just Google marginal tax rates and you can do the weighted average math. 0 to 22 is taxed at 12%. If you're single, the numbers are a little bit different. If you're married filing jointly, there's an advantage to being married. All right, Matt has talked about, I haven't talked about taxes quite that specifically. Let's see. You're a good dad. You traveled this year with your family. They'll never forget those experiences. We do a lot together. Remember, I don't have a job, right? So I do whatever I want, whenever I want. Just so happens that Michelle and I have a really great relationship where we don't need to be together all the darn time. And so she does her thing, I do my thing. We come together often, and because I'm home a lot, and when we do travel, I traveled a lot when I first started the business, combining going to visit clients in wealth management, plus just traveling around, getting trained and learning. But I don't need to travel as much now. People come to me because I got the cool place. I got all the cool toys. So The Rupes guys just came from Denver to visit me. People come here to visit, so I don't have to leave very often. And part of the purpose of starting Destination OG was there's a good good percentage of family element there. I hate going on vacation, and so it's a smart way. Michelle and I kind of came up with that concept, and that I'll buy my vacation places, and then I'll really enjoy it, and they'll get to enjoy it, and we get to enjoy it together. So that way I don't have to go some stinky, crappy rental somewhere. And I find that it doesn't matter how much money you spend on rentals, it's never a great experience to me. All right, let's see. Where was I? Let's see. There we go. I'm just waiting for Maddie Rants. Tim, I think Tim is the #1, wouldn't you say, Wal? But Tim is the #1 YouTube contributor of all time, for sure. Probably not just on OG channel, probably on about 15 channels. I see Tim everywhere. Tim, you got to start doing some work. Stop commenting so much. Tim's our #1 contributor for sure. Let's see. I agree, Matt. You can still enjoy your cars in the garage and on the street without being competitive or going all out on the track. Yeah, that's so funny. I find that like guys that are really great drivers and diehard track drivers, they don't like it when people are on the street, doing crazy stuff. But all those guys I know are they'll go on a back mountain road and drive responsibly, but at a good pace, and they. None of them ever complain about non-track people or buying cars that are quote unquote built for the track. It's always the dorks who don't have a car, aren't on the track, have never been to the track, that are the ones that are always complaining about, well, why are you buying that car? You should take it to the track. And those are always the dorks that do that. All right, what water bottle is that? Well, funny you ask. This is an Obsessed Garage Camelback. I think these are giveaway eligible, aren't they? Yeah, so go reserve your spot on one. You get entries into the giveaway, and I like Camelbacks. And I have like 50 of these from Rogue Fitness. I have 5 of these from Rogue Fitness. And so I said, well, my shirts are modeled after the Rogue Fitness stuff, printed on Los Angeles Apparel, and I feel like we share a lot of commonality of Rogue Fitness. But we're in a different world, different industry, and so I've asked them in the past, like their shirts, like where do they print them, or where do they buy them? And when I first started this, and then this is the Camelback version that we can screen print on, so this counts. When is Calgary coming online? We just talked about that a little bit more. Just talking about with my CFO Joe. The goal is to sign a lease sometime in January, start hiring sometime in January. So I've got some work to do over the next 6 months or 5 months to get the legal stuff figured out, tax and legal, and then the hope would be to start pre-order stuff February 1, and then start shipping March 31st. That's the current goal. We'll see if we can execute on that. AT says, are you ready for the Evo disappointment, Matt? Yeah, I'm sure I won't like it, but I love this. I love the process of the fun of it. Dom says, any advice for first-time homeowners looking to make a solid investment in this current market? Do you think rates will drop, will go up, or do you think rates will stay and prices will drop? So let me preface this with, you may not want to take my advice, because let me give you my track record here. House number 1 I bought when I was 25, closed December 31st, like December 30th of 2005. I paid $282,000 for a 1,822 square foot cookie cutter KB home house with a bunch of nonsense, like it had like laminate floors and junk. And then we went, and I probably spent another $30,000 improving it over the course of the 5 years I owned it. So I'm $320K into that house. I sold it in, I think it was August of 2010 for $125,000 gross, and then I had to pay the realtor. and all the closing costs and all that crap. So I sold it to some lady who got a 100% financed FHA loan, and I couldn't short sell it because I was a financial advisor. I couldn't foreclose on it while everybody else was doing that. And so I had to write a $97,000 check, I'll never forget it, to give this lady the house that I put 20% down when I bought it, had been paying on it for 5 years, improved it. And so whatever that loss is, a whole lot of loss, was my first house. But I was making the 42-mile commute each way for 7 years. And so it was time for me or 6 years, it was time for me to move closer to the business when we decided to have Ryan or Michelle to stay home with Ryan, and I was going to figure out how to make that happen, to have a stay-at-home mom and have a single. So we went from a dual income household to a single income household. Then I rented for a year. Second house I bought was in 2000. Roughly 2011 or so. Yeah, 2011, I think. So we rented for a year. Second house I bought. The advantage is the lady spent about $750. This is the very first YouTube house, if you will, the brown house where I built the first garage. That house I paid $400 even for. I think she spent about $750 building it. She built it in '05. And so I bought it for $400. I sold it 5 years later in 2016 for $390. So that was gross. Then I had to pay realtors and all that crap, closing costs and all that stuff. Third house was the Woodgate house. Woodgate house I bought for $875. Lived in that house until 2021. And remember, if you know the story, we were going to move to the lake house, and that fell through. That's how I ended up in Harbor Hills. So that house I bought for $875 in 2016. I think I probably spent about $250,000, maybe $300,000 on it, and I sold it for $1,050,000. So whatever that $100,000 loss was, something like that. So I did have some appreciation for the first time, but I'd spent a lot of money revamping the kitchen, building the pole barn, just spending money, improving the house. Then the Harbor Hills house I bought for $425. I spent about $400 on it to dial it in, and I sold it for $800. So I lost about, that was gross, but I lost about 25 grand on that house. But I was able to kind of get out of it, and I made lots of content on it and stuff like that. And so then this house I bought for $1,001,000. I probably spent 100 and something on it thus far, maybe 100 on it. And who knows what that story's going to play out. So that's my track record on homes. So I never have looked at, I buy what I want, right? So this is just my advice. You can take it for what it's worth. Probably not the smartest advice, but I buy cars that I want. They're not investments to me. I buy houses that I want. So I drive cars, I love cars, I buy a house, I live in a house, and I love my house, right? And so I'm not willing to make a sacrifice in the house in order to try to get the best deal, to make the most amount of money. I will then focus all of my energy on making money elsewhere. And so despite my real estate, most people, real estate becomes an additive to their future net worth. To me, it generally has not, because of this circumstances. I don't buy right, as my friend Byron would say. You got to buy right. Well, I haven't done a good job of buying right. I've bought wrong. I buy when I want and what I want. Now, there's something to be said for that. I mean, I don't think that the way that I'm doing it is wrong. It's a choice. My choice is to not look for the best investment opportunity. I'm looking for the best situation for me, my family, and what makes sense at the time. Now, granted, we started off at just the wrong time. We got married. We were at that age. We bought at the peak of the market because we needed to live somewhere. Renting wasn't even really an option at the time. Buying homes, everything was on a lottery. Of course, who the heck knew it was going to be the peak of the market? The smart thing would have been to do was wait a little while and then purchase when the bottom fell out. But hindsight being what it is, sure, it's easy, but when you're in the moment, we had the money to put down. We needed a house. We paid what the market value of the house was. We lost the money. I was in a situation where I was lucky enough that I was making enough money that I could save enough to get out of that house without having to go bankrupt or ruin my credit. And I did the right thing. And I feel like if you continue to do the right thing over time, you'll end up in a much better situation. So currently, I don't care what interest rates are. I don't care what home prices are. If you have the money and you can make the math work and you have a place that fits and where you buy where and it's where you want to live and you find something you really like, then you frickin' do it when it's time to do it. I believe the same thing when you're investing in general. You invest your money when you have money to invest. And over time, I think that over time, I will be rewarded for doing what is right for me and my family, and I'll end up okay in the end. As long as you don't, your gut will tell you and will lead you down the path where you're not making some really stupid decision. That's why I walked away from some things like the lake house. I thought, possibly the lake house, it just wasn't looking right. It didn't appraise very well. And so if I needed to sell it, I wasn't going to be able to get out of it. And so we walked away from that deal. I decided not to build the house now because it just didn't feel right. And luckily I didn't do that because I'd be paying massive interest hikes on interest-only mortgage. I don't think interest rates are going back low anytime soon. They may, but they shouldn't, So if we get some logical, intelligent leadership in the United States and other countries, we're likely not going to see stimulus like we've seen the last decade and a half. And so we're going to have to repent. We're going to have to pay for that easy money that we've had over the last decade and a half. That is it's largely worked out, but we may have to pay the piper on that. And so I wouldn't be surprised if, maybe it's possible, unlikely, but possible that we could have the first real contraction in real estate values ever. Yes, you had that short stint in 2008, but generally speaking, real estate appreciates on average, 3 to 5, residential real estate 3 to 5%, which generally doesn't keep pace with the rising rate of inflation. Lots of people have made out on real estate because they've, bought in the right place at the right time. But generally speaking, you go to a middle America, you go to, outside of Cincinnati, Ohio, and, real estate is appreciated 2% a year forever. And so, it just depends. Not everybody has been fortunate to be in Miami or San Diego at the lows and then ride it all the way to the moon. So, we'll see what happens demographically. But I think if you have the money for 20% down, that's the key requisite. Don't go doing 5% mortgages or some 100% financing. You should not be paying mortgage insurance. So that's the one requisite I would have for you. You got to have 20% down. You get yourself a reasonable fixed rate mortgage, 30-year fixed. You can always refinance if rates go down at some point. I think they're unlikely to, at least in the near term. And so you buy the house you want, buy the house you can afford. It may be a smaller house than what you were originally planning because interest rates are higher, and factor that in. And stop thinking of it as this remarkable investment opportunity and think of it more of this is where I'm going to live. I'm not going to forego that forever just because I'm trying to be this great investor. I think in order to be a great investor in real estate, you have to love it. I don't frickin' love it, so I'm probably never going to be great at it. So I hope that helps. There was a super chat here. Brian Hunt says, if I win the car, can I get a discount on the Helen House? No. You win the car, you should be paying me double on the Helen House because you're going to have tons of cash. So, no, Brian, no discounts. That's the one thing in this world that, half jokingly here, but that's the one thing in this world that I never understood. All these companies are like, let's say you're going to build a package, like a pressure washer package. Why the I wasn't going to say that. Why in the world would I discount the pressure washer package when I have to do more work to figure it out? In fact, I should mark it up. So I've done the sort of happy medium and say, I'm just going to add it up, and that's the number. I don't know why in the world companies have made it out to where I may get the volumes more or whatever, but we're going to put a bundle together so we can give you money off. That's stupid. If I put a bundle together, I should add money to it because I got to do more work. That's dumb. So, anyway, no, Brian, no discount. You should be palming me a $1,000, a hundos, 10 hundos for me hooking you up with that frickin' car because this car is awesome. Okay, now I got screwed up here because I went down too far. Where was that house question? Here it is. Okay, love that you put the Dundon setup on the car. If I win this, it will be enjoyed in the mountains, the tail of the dragon, 421, the snake. Yeah, this would be a lot of fun up there. Hey Matt, I have my AR630 for about a year and a half. Fired it up last week, halfway through washing, and it had a puddle of oil under it. Where should I start to troubleshoot? It's probably something to do with a seal somewhere. So take the head off. You'd want probably new check valves. You probably want a seal kit. I think that I've never taken the AR apart, but I think there's normal seals. So that's probably it. But I pretty much guarantee you that you can rebuild it somehow. So I would hit up support and talk to Manny. I'm sure he'd have a better idea. I haven't spent as much time with the AR as I have the Krenza. Any update on the tire stand? No, I don't have any updates on that. Name your top 5 bands. Can't ever recall talking about music. That's a good question. Number 1 is Tool, for sure. So Tool, and I lump Tool, Perfect Circle, and Pussifer because it's all Maynard. Those 3, which would be really 1. So Tool, Perfect Circle, and Pussifer. That's my favorite, for sure. Let's see. What else would where would I rank this? Chris Stapleton has quickly risen to, it's my current favorite, which is crazy to me to say anything country, I like real man country, not that freaking Razzle Gene bullcrap. I like I think of it like Montana country, like, Western real man stuff, where take that frickin' twang. What's that stupid twangy thing? The thing that whine, that whiny stupid thing that they feel like they need to put in every country song. What I realized I hate is I hate music where, it's just like background band or they got like 57 instruments. Like, that's dumb. Like, why do they have all that crap? Like, you should have like 1 guitar and 1 vocalist, or like maybe a drummer, a guitarist, and like they should have their own signature. Like, I don't want just all this rando bullcrap going, just making noise in the background. I think, you got to put Wu-Tang up there, right? That's one of the tops. I don't listen to rap very much. I certainly don't listen to any modern rap. But growing up, Wu-Tang, like the Jizza is my favorite. What have I been listening to a lot of? I mean, obviously I like Pink Floyd, but I was never a big Pink Floyd fan. It's still until I started getting into high-end audio in my late 20s or mid 20s is when I started listening to like the classics that I'd left behind, like Pink Floyd type stuff. I do like a lot of female vocalist stuff. I'm trying to think, why am I not doing so well? My Waba has, or my phone's over here, so I'll come back to that. I'm struggling here to come up with my exacts, my tops. Let's see, just test drove one of the new BMW M2s. It's pretty sweet. Should have gotten one of those as a daily. No, the car kind of sucks. It's not good. I was hoping it could look really cool, but it's dopey looking. Yeah, no, it's too big. Hope the stream doesn't go away to me. It's I think of all kinds of things I would like to know about, and it's a great way to interact. I think you're right. If Canadian was to win, they don't pay taxes on a lottery win. Being that this is an American lottery, would a Canadian have to pay tax? Oh, we already sort of didn't answer that. Any update on the home garage build? Home is done. The only last thing I'm going to do there is acoustic treatments. So, oh, the home garage. Oh, that one. Yeah. No updates. My architect is working on it. He and I will make a video soon, and we'll talk about it. He's also going to be a service provider for us through OG Design. So he's getting, his national certifications, so he'll be able to sort of help you design your garage, or stamp and seal, an engineer, the drawings, and help you with things like septic and sewer and plumbing and all that kind of stuff, electrical. We're working on mine with him, and so we'll be sharing that process with you coming up here. We talked about OG Canada already. Man, this car is going to change someone's life. Yeah, it's going to be freaking nuts. I'm excited. Have you tried Brooklyn and bath towels? May pull the trigger on them sometime soon. The Brooklyn and sheets are dog crap, so I'm thinking the bath towels are probably garbage too. The towels to get are from Frontline. You need to wash them about 10 times, but or front gate. Front gate towels. Their hotel collection is amazing. Thanks to who was it that told me about those? Dang it. He's probably watching. Honor the source, Matt. Can't honor the source if you can't remember. Doing this solo is tricky. Does Hex Plus membership count towards the contest? It absolutely does. Oh, my freaking hip is starting to hurt. These seats are getting me. Oh, yeah. The GT2 buckets are nowhere near as comfortable as the 918 buckets in the new cars. Okay, yes, us Canadians will likely have to pay GST and import duties like normal. Final wash and talk after the win. Yes, we'll do that. If you could drive over quick jacks, just leave them in place and drive your car over them, they'd be perfect. Definitely a pain to set up each time, yeah. But then you got to look at them sitting there. And most cars are going to be too low. Most cars you guys are going to be driving are going to be too low to do that. I'm really liking Koken. I've purchased a few different individual tools, yeah. So I called them, they called me back, and I got to call them again. If you do buy the jack point IP, definitely make them taller. That's a good idea. Got my leather, not sure what that means. When I start buying stuff here in the near future, I know only certain things give you entries, but how would I know what does count? Go to the banner image for the RS giveaway, and it's the RS giveaway stuff. So you'll see it. It's all laid out. The LOC was the line out converter, yeah. Are you going to buy the rights to the wheel stands? I decided not to. Hey Matt, watching Australia. When's the next installment of Wash and Drive series? This weekend. I definitely need to wash the E36. It's a mess, super dirty. I've been driving that every day, and it's been raining every single day, and so the car is super dirty. I need to clean that, and then I'm gonna do the RS. Even though it's not dirty, I need to wash it. Is my phone toast?
Yeah, I'm just making sure, man, you're good.
Yeah.
Here, let them know that you're gonna pause for a second.
All right, pause for 1 second. I'm gonna swap batteries. Yeah, auto renew Hex Plus memberships or Hex memberships counts toward the giveaway. I'm installing the vacuum solution with 2 hose reels for 2 different spaces. Will it be possible to purchase an external switch so that I can go turn it off in the other room? I think so. Send Tommy at obsessgarage.com an email and we can talk to Grant, but I'm certain that we can do that. Let's see. We talked about the quick jacks more than I like to. We talked about the giveaway counting. We talked about Canadian tax. I just took my 981 GT4, so that's a 2016 GT4 for service in Houston. They had a 997.2 GT3 for 360K. It's bananas in my opinion. Yeah, I mean that's the problem. This car is probably well over 300 if you were going to try to buy it even with 30,000 miles. Let's see. Yeah, 22% tax bracket for 150K married filing jointly. We talked about marginal tax brackets. If you had no major preference or bias, would you rather buy, maintain, or modify a 996 Turbo or a R33 GTR? I hate both of those cars, so I wouldn't buy either one of them and would give them to you if I had one. I don't like it. Yeah, the 996 Turbo sounds like a freaking vacuum cleaner, and the R33 GTR is a garbage, slow, heavy, stupid car and ugly. So, sorry about that. Sorry about squashing your dreams there. The GTR, all of them, are freaking stupid. If you ever driven one, they're terrible. It's a terrible car. Our government loves collecting money for vehicles. Yeah, they sure do. When it comes across the Canadian border, you will pay the tax on the value of the vehicle, whatever Maddie will value it at. Yep, okay, da-da-da. Let's see, which would be costly for a Porsche? Keep going, scroll down. South Carolina has a cap on sales tax. Yeah, so, somebody said set up a Montana LLC. Yep, there's lots of things you could do. Hey, I live near you in Helen. Love the videos. Thanks for watching. I'm going to probably have a Helen open house. I talked about this last week. We're going to probably do a soft open house in October. And we'll see. The bottle's making an annoying noise. Oh, am I making heavy breathing noises? How would you compare hydraulic steering versus electronic? It depends. I mean, driving this and then getting in my 992 GT3, I mean, you could say that you can feel the difference, but, maybe in the hands of a, whisperer, a car whisperer. But, I mean, if you have good electric steering, I find it to be not a big deal. Now, difference between an E92 steering and F80 steering is pretty remarkable, I think. But the F80 steering is great too. When does the LZ renovation series start? Theoretically in November. Let's see. Somebody's saying I should stick to cars. I don't know what he's talking about. Anything that I'm interested in, I'm frickin' telling you. Anything. Maybe he's talking about buying real estate. I'm just not interested in it. If I was interested in it, I'm telling you, I would work for it. And I'd, try to be good at it. Okay. It's time for a Canadian winter. I'm down with that, man. Let's see. Christina says, hey, Matt, did you get my email regarding your art therapy and if it's successful long term? I guess I didn't. Maybe Chris screened it out or something. Art therapy is accelerated resolution therapy. Yeah, I mean, without it, who knows where I would be. But I'm not cured, so maybe it doesn't work at all. I don't know. But I'm going to keep doing it. Do you like Tyler Childers? Yeah, I kind of dig it. That's real man country there. More like blues stuff. Let's see here. Playing cash rules everything around me in the GT3. That's cool. Matt likes tight 3 to 4 piece bands. Yep, that's true. We already talked about the wheel stand. Rage Against the Machine, Rush, Zeppelin. No. I mean, I liked Rage for a time. That's kind of reminded me I'd love to go listen to. What's the one with the, like the main album? I guess it's their first one, or maybe it's the second one. The one with the flame on the front. Hey Matt, you should purchase a very super clean Lime Rock Park Edition E92. That they're for sale in the EAG. One is 6,900 miles. I don't know. I don't really love the orange car. I might have missed it, but when I buy in the store, how do I know if it's not part of the giveaway? I already answered that one. Somebody else, Matt Duffy, answered it there. How will the owner or winner be notified? I'm going to freaking call you on the phone while I'm live, and if you don't answer, I'll leave a message, and I'm going to call you back, and we'll talk about it. So, yeah, I'm going to call you. Your phone number will be in there. Let's see. Did you go on the Snap-on truck today? Yeah, I did. He didn't have anything for me. I've only got like 10 more items to do. Those 10 items are probably $14,000, and my toolbox is due in September. So I only have a few more things left. Will you do a video and teach the winner how to drive stick if they don't know how to drive a manual? Yeah, that'd be cool. I'll do it. It'll be a tough car to learn because of how heavy the clutch is. Man, that thing is freaking heavy. Yeah, that would be interesting. You teaching you how to drive, this would be a hard car to learn on it. But pretty intuitive car. But you know, this again, because of how heavy the clutch is and how notchy and you know the mechanical the shifting is, it would be a tough thing to learn on. So you'd probably want to learn on something simpler. We may have something here that we could teach you on to be a little easier. I know you don't like the G80's pig nose, and I hate it too, but have you seen the Adro front end? Yeah. It just takes, that was something I was considering. It looks amazing in photos, but if you see it in person, it has its own problem. And it makes it poke out more, and it has its own, I think, a little bit worse looking weirdness to it. Because that was something I was considering. When you see it in person, it's not as good as it looks when they show it from all those great angles that they take photos of. I have a 2-household Vermont, Quebec. Recently bought a couple grand worth of stuff shipped to Quebec. Is that what's used for the giveaway? I'm not sure. Email support, and it's support@obsessgarage.com. They can look it up for you. Just purchased a gallon of drying aid. After trying a quart, the stuff is so slick. Yeah, it's really good. If you want a windshield PPF, would you still use Wolf's? If you have a windshield PPF, yeah, I definitely would. I did that. I used it when I had ExoShield on my .1 RS. Let's see. Any more Smokey's GT3 content coming? I hope so. I would love to. What type of financial accounts should the normal person have? I'm a big proponent of keeping it simple. So you would have a 401k or a simple IRA or something like that with your employer. You know, so at OG here, I set up a 401k. So we have a corporate 401k, and so I have that. So you should have a 401k or whatever your employer provides. You would also want to contribute, like if they had a deferred comp account or have things like that. What I'm not a proponent of, this is just my suggestion. So if let's say you work for a major corporation, I don't know, pick one. Let's say you work for ExxonMobil. So here's a really common, I think, mistake that people do. They exhibit home bias. And now, if you work for Enron or you work for WorldCom or something like that in the past, Lucent, this is where it can backfire on you. So let's say you work for ExxonMobil and you're contributing to their 401k. They also have an employee stock option plan where you get some stock options. And then most companies like that will also have an employee stock purchase plan. And oftentimes the stock purchase plan will allow you to purchase the stock at a discount. And then, so then what people end up doing is you really understand your company. Hopefully you really believe in your company, you really love your company. And so one of the common things that people will do is they get stock as part of their comp through options or through just stock grants. They then buy the stock because it's an option in their 401k sometimes, and then you're buying employee stock purchase, and you start to amass this substantial amount of equity and equity position in your company. And so now what happens is you become very emotionally attached to it as well, because it's your company, it's who you work for, it's your passion, you love the company, you want to support it, you want to own it, you want to have ownership in it, and if you're an executive or if you're a highly compensated individual, you can end up with a lot of stock with the company. And then you start to get into this emotional attachment of a lot of the stock is appreciated quite a bit in value, and so you don't want to sell it because you don't want to pay the tax. And there's something called net unrealized appreciation that you can take advantage of that people won't because they're attached to the darn stock. And so then you end up with like 96% of your net worth tied up in ExxonMobil because that's who you work for and that's who you love. And now ExxonMobil is probably a bad example, but let's say I had many friends at Merrill Lynch that had like 95 or 100% of their net worth in Merrill Lynch stock. In fact, some of them more than 100% of their net worth because they would take margin out on Merrill Lynch stock. Merrill Lynch peaked at $98 a share. In 2009, went down to like $1.80. Bank of America bought Merrill Lynch. Bank of America stock went down to like $2 a share, $2.50 a share, and so it was 0.8585 shares of Merrill Lynch for every share of Bank of America after they purchased Merrill Lynch. And so I had some friends who had like 180,000 shares of Merrill Lynch that went from like 10, 11 million dollars in value down to like 100 grand. Imagine. So my advice in those examples is don't invest any money in your employee stock purchase plan. Don't invest any money of your 401k in your company stock. And whenever your options vest, sell them and diversify. If they have a discount for your employee stock purchase plan, buy the shares. Take the discount, hold them for the required period, and sell them off. And if you do that regularly, don't try to time it, don't try to guess it, because you'll probably get it wrong. Just do it on the sort of a dollar cost average timeline. And those of you who are listening to this and you're scoffing at this, and it's so funny how emotional and how attached people get. They don't know what they're doing. They don't know jack about it. You've made a lot of money because you've done this at times. You got lucky. Your company took off, and you argue, well, I knew this was going to happen, which is nonsense. If you're scoffing at that, you should be freaking hiring someone tomorrow to give you some advice to get out of it. Pay the freaking tax. Work your way through a strategy to get yourself to a more diversified position and focus on your career and your income earning potential and stop thinking you're some investment genius. I'm freaking telling you. I've seen it so many times where people make this massive mistake. It's called home bias. It's like the common psychological mistake when you invest. So, and anyway, 401k, employee stock option, employee stock purchase plan, you'll have some deferred compensation agreements. So you want to maximize, but you want to maximize all of your employment optional investment opportunities first before you start worrying about brokerage accounts and stuff like that. Because almost all of those will have some sort of leverage, either tax leverage or some discounted leverage or something like that. But just what I'm getting at is don't get hung up on don't exhibit home bias if you can help it. Because you don't know what you're doing. I guarantee you don't. You think you do, but you frickin' don't. I didn't know what I was doing, and I was an expert. You've got to be really careful with that kind of thing. Trying to get rich is how you get poor. You get rich by being passionate about things, not just by passively guessing, unless you get really lucky. So then after that, after you've maximized all of that, you've maximized your 401k. Maxing out your 401k doesn't mean doing what your employer matches. Maxing out your 401k means putting 22 grand a year into it for each for each you and your spouse. So if you have that mentality, my employer matches 4% or 5%, I'm going to quote unquote max up my 401k. That doesn't mean that I'm matching what the employer's putting in. That means that I'm putting the maximum amount the IRS allows. So don't get hung up on that. And if you have a full option for a 401k, screw the IRA and screw Roth. We've talked about this before, but Roth is a frickin' bunch of nonsense. Just do the simple calculation. Get out a sheet of paper and say, if I were to put, especially if you're not wealthy or you're not making tons of money, the whole point of a Roth is that you're going to pay the tax now, so you're not responsible for it later. But if I have the ability with a tax deduction to put more into a tax-deferred account like a regular IRA or a regular 401k, and I let that extra money compound over a lifetime, you're going to have a much bigger corpus value. Yes, you'd have to pay tax on it in the future, but you don't know, you may have some big business loss, some big real estate loss, you may have some long-term care, some major medical expense that you may be able to get a lot of that money out tax-free in the future anyway. So stop with this frickin' Roth nonsense. It's a bunch of bull crap. If you do the math, it's stupid. It's not, I have like maybe 200 grand in Roth. It's useless. It's nice to have, but the Roth that I've gotten, there was a reason for it. The Roth contribution makes a lot of sense if you're making like 30 grand a year but again, if you're making 30 grand a year, you can't make a really big contribution. I'd rather see you take the deduction and make a bigger contribution and not pay the tax now. So, and who knows, what happens if they start taxing Roth IRAs in the future because they decide you have too much money in Roths? You just don't know what kind of bull crap they're going to pull. So I wouldn't worry about that. Just keep it simple. Make tax-deferred 401k or tax-deferred IRA contributions. If you're maximizing your IRA, it's not enough money, not even freaking close to enough money. It's $6,000 a year, $6,500 a year, not enough. So you need to figure out a way to save some more. So then after you've taken advantage of all your employer and all your tax-deferred options, then you start contributing to a brokerage account. If you have a low interest rate mortgage, you're almost always going to be better off just paying the normal amount on the mortgage and building up your nest egg, your savings, rather than paying off the home. Now, there is some advantage, like the Dave Ramsey methodology is that you pay off your home because there's peace of mind. You can live in the home. You'll be able to make better, smarter decisions in the future. I don't disagree with that, having a paid off mortgage, but if you're diligent and intelligent and not making stupid things like buying things on credit cards and stuff like that and paying interest on that, then there shouldn't be any reason why you can't have a mortgage and save money. So then you start contributing to your brokerage account. So you have your deferred accounts, you have a bank account. I have one bank account, one. Matt Mormon, joint tenants with rights of survivorship with a transfer on death attached to it to my two kids. So there's money available. I think my brother and sister-in-law are attached as in our estate and our will and trust. My bank account, my bank account is joint tenants with rights of survivorship. It's not held in the name of the trust. You don't want to put it in the name of the trust because it'll take some time to get money. So your regular bank account should just be a regular joint tenants account. I keep, 50 grand in there or something like that. You want to have, I spend a freaking lot of money, and so I don't keep a lot of money in the bank account. I keep it in my brokerage account. So I have one joint tenants with the rights of survivorship, and then I have a Merrill Lynch brokerage account. The Merrill Lynch brokerage account is with my financial advisor, Kevin Barry, in Orlando. And so that account is held in the name of my trust. And so then the trust will dictate where the money goes. Something should happen to us, and it'll not go through probate and all that stuff. And so the reason to keep your joint bank account accessible with a transfer on death is it'll go outside immediately. You don't have to worry about filing any documentation or anything like that. The money can be used for pay funeral expenses and take care of your kids and things like that right away, pay bills. And so your will, my executor will come and take care of that. So then, single brokerage, one brokerage account, not freaking 15, not all over the place, one place, and all the money's in there. That investment is, because I'm 43 years old, is moderately aggressive, set up moderately aggressively. So it's roughly 75-25 and a mix of ETFs and mutual funds, and I don't freaking give a crap what it's in. It's average. It'll probably average a 6, 7, 8% rate of return. I pay Kevin 1%. I am an expert, a subject matter expert. I have 32 letters behind my name, or I had them. I let them all expire. I know how to invest money. I know how to manage money. I don't want to do it. I don't have time to do it unless I had maybe 25% of my available time to deal with it. I'm not going to pretend to be an expert. My friend Pan, the organizer, I suggested the same thing. He got really lucky, picked some stocks, made a bunch of money. I told him, go frickin' find someone that has some credentials, who's smart. He's going to make probably returns that are subpar of what you would hope, but just give him money and go do what you're good at. Let him do that, because spending 1% of your time trying to pick stocks and do the right thing, you're going to frickin' mess it up. Your goal of passive investment is for it to be passive, and so hire somebody and make it passive for yourself. I'm happy to pay someone 1% for that. So I have a brokerage account, held in the name of my trust, and then Michelle has a Roth IRA and a regular IRA. I have a Roth IRA and a regular IRA. We will do a backdoor Roth every year, but again, in the amount of money that I make now, it makes very little difference to what $13,000 a year we can put into those two. That's it. So I got 4 retirement accounts, 2 401ks, so one for Michelle, one for me, 1 checking account. So that's 7 accounts, and that's what you should have, I think. Now, I've got freaking 25 business accounts, so every LLC has at least 1 account. So like for Obsessed Garage, we have a savings account, we have high interest money market accounts, we have accounts at different banks for FDIC coverage and things like that. We have a payroll account. So I've got frickin' accounts all over the place. And then I've got, Curated Manufacturing LLC. I've got Mormon Real Estate Holdings. I've got Destination OG LLC. I've got, so I've got probably 20 different bank accounts at 3 different banks. For the business. Now that's a requirement I just don't want to have all the cash in one place. You saw that with Silicon Valley Bank. People had all this money in one frickin' bank account and not covered. And then of course the idiots bailed them out. Those people should have lost every penny because they weren't smart about it. So anyway, let's see. I thought you can't contribute to a Roth account if your income is too high. You can't contribute to a Roth as the way to do it, if your income levels are too high, is that you make a contribution to a regular IRA and then you do a conversion. So you can convert it. You can't take a deduction, so I can't make a deductible IRA contribution because I'm covered by a 401k. So I make a non-deductible contribution. Because it's non-deductible, I can then do the conversion because there's no base, or the basis is the amount you put in. So it's called a backdoor Roth. You can ask your FA about that. Let's see. I think that's about it. Time is it? 3:40. Okay, what about credit unions? Credit unions are for poor people. It's just, what's the point? What is a credit union going to do for you? I've never had a need for a credit union. I don't think you have a need for a credit union. If you have a great relationship with a credit union long term, maybe you get better rates of interest on car loans and stuff, but I can get the same thing just shopping around. I'd never really understood the point of it. But I mean, if you have a great relationship, you had it there for a while, it's the same frickin' thing as a bank. You would hope that a credit union maybe would have a better chance if it's run better, to less chance of going out of business. But, as long as you stay in, under FDIC limits, you're good to go. Sweet Spot says, what was your title at Merrill Lynch? Were you a big timer who wore a three-piece suit to work? I did wear a suit to work. I was a senior vice president, senior resident director. So I was still a retail producing broker. So I was a financial advisor. And then I ran the market ran my office. So I managed the office. That was the resident director title. But you have to give up your practice to go into the corporate side of things. So, yeah. If you scoff, buy the ESPP at a 15% discount, sell 85% immediately when you can. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. So if you have an employee stock purchase plan at a discount, buy some shares, but then when it vests, which is usually a year, sell it. So buy and sell, and do that every year. So buy the limit you can buy at the 15% discount. I think over time you're going to net, hopefully you'll see some appreciation in the stock, but sell it every time it vests, which is usually a calendar year, sometimes 2 years, or sometimes it's a 50% vest, and then so it's like a 2-year cliff vest type thing, or 2-year graduated vesting schedule. And so the key is, don't just amass this big giant portfolio of your own company stock, but take advantage of it. That's what I'm saying. So let's see. If you won the Mega Million 910 tonight, what would you do with it? I've said this often. I've told lots of relatives this. They think I'm crazy. So, if you win the lottery, first thing to do, shut off your cell phone. Can't change your phone number, change your email address, and go away. Go somewhere where nobody knows where you're at. Take you and your immediate family and disappear. Because I'm telling you, I've had a few lottery winners, even small lottery winners as clients. And I've had some that really weren't clients, but I was talking to them about being a client. I think the most somebody won that I talked to, they'd won like 100 million or something like that. They didn't end up hiring me. I don't know. They disappeared, but maybe they took my advice to disappear. The one that I did know that I talked to, he did something really, really smart, which I thought which allowed him to not have to just move away. He set up a charity and contributed a certain amount of money, and everybody who was after him to give them some money, every person in his life, they had to submit to the charity, why, what they were going to do, what the purpose was, what the charitable point was. But if you win $900 million in the lottery, disappear. Nobody, and I mean nobody, should be getting a penny of that, because you're going to ruin them. If you gave, $10 million to even your in-laws, it's going to be a freaking disaster. So what you're going to want to do is disappear. Take the money, you take the upfront, which so you get, say, 500 million. You're going to pay, roughly half of that in tax. You're going to end up with, $250 million. You're going to have $250 million. You're going to want to go look at, Morgan Stanley, Merrill Lynch, Goldman Sachs. You're going to want to hire a private wealth advisor, somebody, usually those guys that are on the upper echelon. A lot of them are former attorneys, so they have PhDs, or they have, like a PhD in mathematics or something like that. But you go to one of the major cities, they're usually in New York City or Miami, but you go and hire guys that have experience with people that have 250 or 400 or $1 billion. So they're going to be able to advise you on what to do. They're going to charge you, something like 0.5% or percent to manage the money, but they're going to help you avoid, and get, tax advantage status and all of that stuff. They're going to try to help you figure out what to do with it. But what you don't want to do is start giving money to all your people. So sorry to all the OG employees. If I win 900 million, you're getting nothing. So just don't even plan on it. What I would probably do is I would consider setting up a portfolio of money throughout the business, and I would try to get people, if they earned it, much more. I'd try to get them what they deserve at their current level, and I would probably invest heavily in the company, which would give them opportunity. But if I just gave everybody here $1 million, it would ruin them. It would ruin their lives. I'm telling you. You don't want to do that. So you want to disappear, and then you want to hire somebody to help you figure out how to take advantage tax-wise. Set up, they're going to help you set up, a charitable remainder trust. They're going to help you set up charities. They're going to help you purchase real estate. They're going to help you diversify it. There's obviously going to be some things you're going to want to buy, but you got to disappear, and you got to change your phone number. And then in about 2 years, then it'll just be kind of normal. You'll be running in a new circle of people. You'll bring along the people that you wanted to bring along with you. You'll probably hire some people that are in your life to give them an opportunity to earn it. Because if you give them money, you're going to frickin' ruin their lives. I'm telling you. So I hope that makes sense. That's what I would suggest. That's what I would do. You got to play the lottery to win the lottery. And don't give me this nonsense about Merrill Lynch eats up your fee on fees. No, you don't know what you're doing. So free and stupid is worse than expensive and smart. Right? So the net returns at the end of the day, I guarantee you that you're not going to buy the S&P 500 ETF and you're going to ride it down 52% from peak to trough from 2008 to 2009. There's zero, you're not doing it. If you're complaining about fees, you didn't do it. If you had any amount of money, so if you had $1 million and went from $1 million down to 480 grand, there's zero chance you hung on. Now it was free, it was cheap, but you bailed, so you probably bailed at like a 40% loss. So your million went down to 600. You feel like you're a freaking genius because it would have gone down to 480 grand. And then you buy back when the S&P is up 50% from the low. And you end up making a net general return of something like 2 or 3%. I've seen it a billion times. I pay my guy, I could do it myself, and I guarantee you I could do it better than you. And I pay my guy 1%, so I don't have to deal with it. Yeah, he's going to make a 6% return. Yes, the underlying investments probably have an internal expense of somewhere around 3 or 4/10%. So I'm paying 1.1 to 1.4, something like that. But I'm frickin' telling you, unless you're going to invest at least 25% of your waking hours for the next decade, you don't know what you're frickin' doing. You've got to be really passionate about it. Now, I guarantee you there's a bunch of guys in here that are listening that are like my friend Byron, who are brilliant at buying right. And they spend a lot of their time on investment, a lot of their time on understanding where value is. But I don't have time for that because I'm focused on building this business. So I'm making hundreds of % returns on pretty much everything I touch here. And so I'm much, much better off paying 1.3 or 1.4% versus even I'm going to have a hard time buying the S&P 500 for free and hanging on to it. And yes, I would probably make a better return long term if I just bought the S&P 500 and held it forever and just added to it regularly. But I'm telling you, you're not going to do that. And you think that you're smart enough to get in and get out at the right time. I guarantee you're not. And so if I did an analysis of your net rate of return over your lifetime versus what Kevin is going to do at Merrill Lynch or Morgan Stanley or some guy at Goldman Sachs or something like that, you're helping finance them. I guarantee you Kevin makes $1 million a year, but I'm happy to pay him that so I don't have to deal with it. So get this nonsense about you're going to go to Vanguard and you're going to get great returns, because you're not. I'm telling you, you're not. I've been fighting that forever. So anyway, we got on a diatribe of this whole thing here. And do we have any other questions here?
The guy on Instagram is asking how the Evo drives.
Oh, I think the Evo's pretty good. I need to get out on the real road. We've only driven around circles here. But I think I like it. We'll see. And, some of you dorks can, say I told you so when I say if I say I don't like it or I do like it. I don't give a flip. I bought it. Mike and I have having a blast working on this thing. We're making fun videos, buying all kinds of cool parts, overnighting parts from Japan, buying 4 exhausts, and it was a complete waste of time, but it was a whole lot of fun doing it. So, yeah, anyway. So, see, here's Dork VR4 Joe. I bet you Joe has about $82,000 to his name, right? He's been working his whole life. You won't beat VFIAX. Yeah, but they'll beat you investing in VFIAX. I guarantee it. So, get lost. He's unsubscribing right now because he built that $82,000 fortune by doing it himself for free. Yeah, he also has a crappy car that he got at a deal, right? And has a crappy house that he bought because it was going to make him lots of money, but he's living in filth. You know, the kitchen's like the kitchen doors are falling off. He's got popcorn ceiling. You know, he's got he has a solid core wiring that he's going to fix someday. But he gets his Vanguard mutual fund at a discount. So I err on the side and recommend to everybody, go be great at what you're good at, and you'll make a lot more than nickel and diming your frickin' internal expenses on a mutual fund, for gosh sakes. It is such a waste of time, such a waste of effort. And I'm not saying that because that's what I used to do for a living. I know people and I know their level of expertise in pretty much everything, and you think you know what you're doing, but you just don't. And so the best thing you can do is realize what you're good at and what you're not. And I'm good at investing, but I don't want to do it, and I don't want to invest the time. And so you buying a mutual fund, the average mutual fund makes something like 8% rate of return. The average mutual fund investor makes like a 2-point-something% rate of return because they do stupid stuff. So anyway, that's all I got. Is that a good rant for you? It's 100% the truth. Guaranteed VR4 Joe. First of all, he's stuck with a VR4, which is a crappy car from the 90s. Right? He doesn't have a VR4 and a 458 Speciale. He doesn't have a VR4 and 6 GT3s. He has a VR4 and a Honda Odyssey and popcorn ceilings. But he's paying 0.05% on VFIAX that he sold at the, before the low, but bought in much higher than when he got out. That's America. That's the American way. That's the cheap American. Don't be a cheap American. Be a smart American. Chase what you're good at. Focus on. So what Joe's also doing, rather than working, he's reading Vanguard literature like once in a while, after he spent 45 minutes preparing his coffee, right, at the coffee station at his, crappy corporate job. Instead, he should be running the darn place. He should own the darn place, because if he didn't waste his time reading VFIAX's prospectus once every 2 years and telling all his friends how they're paying too much money to Morgan Stanley, he would be running the darn place. That's my advice to people for today. Sorry, Joe. You can come kick me in the nuts next time you come by. See, he probably is not who I'm saying, because he wasn't offended by this. But thanks for being the rant guy for the day. So anyway, RS giveaway. We got a couple of days left. Help me not have to be a popcorn ceiling, solid core wire owning, stinky old Japanese car only guy who spends all of his time worrying about saving 0.0%, 0.01% on my internal expenses of my mutual funds, because somebody told me that you can't do well when you have a guy at Merrill Lynch or a guy at Goldman Sachs or something like that. Period. I'm out. Ugh. Gosh, these seats are terrible.